A branch of the life of God is just the living God branching. A Facebook friend of mine named Subhash Chandra from India, whose first language is not English, probably is Hindi, he wrote, "Intellect is not intelligence," as J. Krishnamurti said. It is very difficult to come out of this trap and come to its own self. Life unfolds its secrets only to those who comes to its own self. That's word for word what Subhash wrote. So you can kind of get a sense of what he's saying. Obviously, his English is not the same as I would have said it, but here's what I had to say. There's a link to his actual post in the thread of responses there. What is this trap? What is he talking about when he says this trap? If one recognizes the nature of the trap, one may find that the trap requires ongoing energizing and nourishing in order to persist as a trap. What if the trap has no real permanence? It's just something that emerges, has a certain amount of momentum, the momentum dissipates, and it disappears. And then another trap may arise, a perception or perceiving of a trap, the labeling of a trap. And then, all of a sudden, there's no trap. But even to say no trap is like to be thinking in terms of trap. So in the absence of the activity of creating a difficult trap that traps me, the momentum of the idea of trapping me dissolves, like the heat of a stove when one turns off the heat. The turner may still be red hot, in the instance that the switch is turned off. But when there is no additional energy flowing to heat the burner, soon the burner cools a little, and then eventually has no extra heat and is just not even a warm burner. It's just a cold, regular room temperature burner. So, what is the nature of trapping me? Is it related to defining myself and identifying an image, a self-image, and labeling how I am and how I am not? What if I am not any certain way? What if I do not reject any particular way? A branch of God can declare, I'm just a single, isolated branch. This one, but not that one, not those. I'm like that one and that one, but I'm completely separate from all the rest of the tree. However, what if that branching is all the activity of the tree from the beginning? When there is the identifying of, I'm only this branch, that is the isolating of a particular branch, right? When there is no isolating of a particular branch, does the branch suddenly become the entire tree? That requires an isolating of a branch for the branch to be labeled as becoming the tree. Does the branch ever achieve inner treedom? Is there a method, a series of steps for attaining treedom with a branch? What if the branch never did anything of its own, and all activity of branching was also the activity of treeing, the activity of the tree branching? The branching never did any branching. The tree did the branching. Of course, the tree is just the treeing of the forest and of the earth and all that, but let's stick with the idea that there's a branch, and relative to any branch, there's a tree. Relative to any tree, there's a forest, but just relative to any branch, there's a tree, like a larger context, a larger organism in which the branching arises or not. But the possibility of branch is dependent on and arising simultaneously with the possibility of tree. So what if the trapping of the branch was just one activity of the tree? What does the tree need to do in order to stop the trapping of the branching? The tree just branches. When the tree just branches, the trapping of the branch does not trap the tree. There's no dilemma over how to trap the branch and how to stop the branch from being trapped and how to free the branch and liberate the branch from the tree. No. The trapping of the branch is always just an activity of the tree. And there's really no actual trapping of the branch. It's just a figure of speech. So can the branch of the living of God come to the secret of the tree of the living of God? Come to some new waking up, an enlightenment. Can the branch of the living of God wake up? No, but the tree of the living God can make up that there is a trap and there's a secret to get out of the trap that the branches must discover in order to get out of the trap of being trapped in the tree. So, if one recognizes the nature of the trap, who is it that could recognize the trap, the dilemma, the paradox in language, the joke? Are you the secret trap of I am just an isolated branch of that idea? Or are you the one who recognizes language and creates such isolating in language of I'm just an isolated branch? How did the tree trap the branch? How did the branch get trapped in the tree? When it is clear that those questions are nonsense from the beginning, are based on certain presumptions in language that may or may not be relevant. So when it's clear that those questions of how the tree trapped the branch, when it's clear that those questions are just language, they're not relevant, they're not important, they're just social opportunities, they're opportunities to socialize, then intelligence has recognized intelligence. The dreaming of the intellect, of the mind, of the ego, never trapped intelligence. Intelligence is the source of the intellect. Intellect is an expression of intelligence. And the poetic dreams of neurolinguistic Maya, the ideas and concepts of language, all that is the moving of intelligence. Delusions, concepts, beliefs, ideas, presumptions, ignorance, knowledge, theories, models, misperceptions, any perception, sin, Mara, if there's a word for it, that, ideals, idealism, anti-idealistic idealism. So this that I've been talking about here for several minutes now, this clarity about language really is the ancient teaching that in various languages has been called Advaita, holiness, wholeness, Catholicism in the original sense of the word, salvation, enlightenment, Taoism, the middle way, the good news, the Dharma, the truth of spiritual liberation, the revelation of divine unity, Jnana Yoga, the rebirth of the eternal, the knowledge of the tree of life, Zen Buddhism, and so on. Lots and lots of labels in different languages: English, Sanskrit, Islam, all those, the surrendering of Islam, the peace, the contentedness. It's all a reference to the same tree. They're not actually different branches of that tree. They're all labels for the tree. So, Buddha, 2,500 years ago or so, said something that's been translated into English as, I teach suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path of life without suffering or beyond suffering. And that's all I teach. We could say Buddha was talking about, he's teaching about the experience of being trapped, the experience of suffering is the experience of being trapped. There's like anxiety, urgency, desperation, that kind of thing. The origin of that experience, the cessation or dissolving of that experience, the nirvana, and the path of living without the causing of suffering, without the formation of traps in language. So, that is a branch of the life of God, is just living God branching. And Subash actually responded prior to me making this audio. He said, "Thank you, Hun." That's my last name, Hun. "Thank you, Hun. I'm very much impressed by your words, that how can a tree trap its branch? I am very much clear now." So thanks to Subhash for prompting this dialogue on a branch of the life of God and the living God's branching.